Hi, Gemini. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for December of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julie Mijas in San Francisco, California.
Hey, Gemini, this month's themes revolve a lot around your close relationships, intimacy, and also sharing and debt. If you need clarification, anything Julia and I say here can be more fully explained in a natal and transit reading, or if it's a relationship theme, a lifelong love reading. You'll find the links for these readings in the text that comes with this video. At the beginning of the month, something really nice is already going on, which is that Juno, traveling along through Pisces, is done with its retrograde span. And so final resolution can come on your relationship retrospection. So if you've been involved in some messes, especially around relationships with colleagues or a business partner, or relationships through work that is consultancy based, then now is the time when resolution is happening and closure can come, and you can just move on from all of that garbage that happened earlier in this year. So really good news about that. Ceres starts the month in Virgo, traveling along through your fourth house of home and family, domestic life, heritage, and roots, where she's been busily organizing and cleaning up stuff on the home front. That's probably felt pretty good. She loves to be in this house. And maybe you visited the Container Store. Maybe you, reorganized that closet or that basement or that attic. And that's some pretty good stuff. Ceres is about to move on into the fifth house. And she moves into that house on December 18th as she moves into Libra, right about here. And Ceres is all about good stewardship. She's a very practical goddess. She's about the things that connect us to the physical world, our physical bodies, the food we put into them, and the money we make to sustain them. And the fifth house being a house of fun and pleasure and play and also speculation, I think that there's a caution involved here about spending too much while Ceres passes along this house on items that are beautiful and beautify your life, but which also might empty your wallet a little bit too much. So you might feel drawn to purchase things that can glamorize you, but I think that, yeah, beware of being spendy while Ceres is traveling along through here, and also beware of gambling away your money while Ceres is traveling along here. So then the next thing I want to tell you about is Jupiter, which is finishing out his stint in Pisces right here in your 10th house. So earlier this year, Jupiter had moved on into your 11th house of community and friends and groups, and maybe created some pretty great parties and events while there. But he's also backed up into your 10th house, giving you the last little bit of career luck that you can harvest this year. And I strongly recommend that you do that before Jupiter moves off and away from your 10th house of career. So if you've been feeling like a sense of restlessness in your career and you're ready for a change, this essentially is your last chance to do something about it, to act on it. And I really recommend that you do that while Jupiter is still finishing out your 10th house and giving you the confidence to make a move that big. When Jupiter does move on into your 11th house around the 19th and 20th of the month, then Jupiter brings his characteristic enthusiasm and growth potential to your 11th house of friends, networks, communities, and tribe, the people of like mind that you feel a sense of belonging with. So again, you can have some pretty great social events, and those events don't have to just be purely personal life events. They can be professional events as well. This is the house of your businesses human capital, which means HR in the one sense, but also I think more particularly means your business's contacts, customer list, Rolodex, that sort of thing. So, and your social media platforms that you operate on in your business. So as Jupiter moves through the 11th house, you can grow your list. You can create events for the people in your purview that your business serves. And that can bring about a really wonderful expansion of your business. Hey, Julia, what's the news of Mars, Venus, and Mercury this month?
Oh yeah, lots of stuff going on, Gemini. Mars is retrograde this month. It's been retrograde for a little while now. And this is significant. It happens every 2 years. Mars represents action, activity, and anger. And when any planet goes retrograde, it's a time of sort of reorienting the significations of what that planet means. So with Mars, it's a time of redoing in our lives. So this retrograde cycle is happening in your first house. This is the house of self. It's the energies you project out into the world. Planets in here you tend to embody in a lot of ways too. So with Mars retrograde in your first house, you might find yourself redoing a lot of actions in your life. If you get involved in any conflicts with other people, which can definitely happen anytime when Mars is in the first, especially when it's retrograde, be expected to kind of have to go back over any actions that you took during those conflicts. Now, Mars in the first house can be a high energy time, but since it's retrograde, a little caution of not doing any activity or driving whenever you're feeling really upset and angry, because you might be more prone to making sort of errors with your action or getting into accidents. I'm not predicting any accidents are going to happen to you. Just if you find yourself getting upset about something, don't necessarily go to the gym, don't necessarily get in your car and drive around. Try to be calm and cool before engaging in activities of all kinds. Now, December 7th is a very important date to keep track of because that's when Mars is opposed the sun. We call that maximum frustration day, and it can be a time where you're really feeling a lot of the issues that I mentioned about this Mars retrograde cycle in your first. Now, Venus is much lighter to deal with. Everybody loves her because she represents pleasure and relationships and beauty. And she starts the month in your 7th house of relationships. So a great time for your relationship the first 9 days of the month. You might find more harmony and peace in romance with your partner. And if you're single, then the first third of the month is going to be a good time for dating too. Then after December 9th, Venus goes in your 8th house. The 8th house is a more intense place. It has to do with shared finances. It has to do with deep intimacy, like sexual intimacy, financial intimacy, things of that nature. So with Venus in the 9th for the rest of the month, you might find that you are pooling your sources together more with people in your life. Maybe your partner puts you on their health insurance, so you're spending less money. Or let's say you might get a little bit more luck with an investment too with Venus in the 8th. It can be a good time to ask for a loan. Venus in the 8th, if you are in a relationship, can be a time of greater intimacy. It can be a time of just feeling a lot more physically amorous. And it's also possible maybe your partner goes through something psychological and you guys bond even more through it with Venus in the 8th too. Now, Mercury, the planet that represents your mind, represents communication of all kinds, starts the month in your 7th house. There with Venus for the first week, they're both in there together. So big emphasis on your romantic relationship the first week of the month. So with Mercury in the 7th, you'll find that you're talking to your partner a lot more. And if you don't have a relationship in your life, you might be thinking about your next relationship a lot with Mercury in the 7th. It's a great transit for hiring any contractors too, which are also ruled by the 7th house, doctors, lawyers, people that you might hire for advice in your life. Now, on December 6th, Mercury goes into your 8th house. I mentioned the 8th house, the house of shared finance. It also represents research and investigation. So your mind could be a lot more probing with Mercury in the 8th house. You might be drawn to mysteries. You might be drawn to thinking about social taboos. It can be a great time in therapy too, if you're going to a therapist, of just talking about your more psychological issues and making those breakthroughs. Then by the end of the month, on December 29th, Mercury goes retrograde in your 8th house. And you might even feel it a few days before as Mercury slows down in the sky. And we'll really cover that cycle in a lot of depth in our next month's video, because the cycle is really taking place in January. However, Mercury going retrograde in the 8th house might mean you have to rethink some of your shared finances in your life. You might be rethinking your investments, your inheritances, mortgage, stuff like that. And it can be a time, if you're researching or investigating something, that you have to go back over your conclusions too. So be prepared for that.
Yes, indeed. Well, there are a couple of moons and a seasonal change happening this month, as usual. And the first of them is the full moon in Gemini, right here in your first house with Mars. And it's happening on the same day as, what did you call it, Julia? Maximum frustration day. Yes. Which, falling in your first house, is probably going to feel pretty personal. You are likely to be embodying that frustration. And with the moon being full as it joins Mars right here in your first house, it might be rather hard to keep a lid on all of the emotions that you might be feeling. So I think it's pretty important to be careful about when and how you blow your top and how you express your anger and assertion right during the 3 days surrounding December 7th, when this moon is kind of coming in and peaking and going out again. The sun opposite that that moon Mars combination is here in the 7th house, and the sun is really pulling for a more diplomatic approach and trying to balance, and tap off some of that anger and upset that Mars and moon may be feeling. And so this could absolutely creep into your relationships, that being the 7th house theme. And it's so important to, figure out best ways to keep a lid on it. Then around mid-month, as usual, the sun leaves your 7th house of relationships, where the sun has been bringing a good deal of quality attention in the last month, bringing your attention to your partnerships and helping you to maintain more balance there. But on the 21st, the sun moves on into the 8th house, which is a deeper and more intimate realm of partnership. This is the house of sexuality, and it's also a house of profound change. It's a house that can feel very vulnerable at times. And it's also a house of shared finances, whether that's, spousal finances, or maybe with a business partner, or investments that you might make. And as the sun enters into this house, and will be traveling this house for a 30-day period starting around the 21st, 22nd, the sun says, bring the sunlight of your high quality attention to this usually rather mysterious and hidden house and its affairs. This is a water house, and so it's not a house that really is that comfortable with the light of day, but bringing a flashlight into this rather hidden realm and looking in all the corners is sometimes really important and necessary to do. And as the sun enters into this house, it joins Venus and Mercury and even Pluto already here in this house. And so it's really a good time to look around at like your debt situation and say to yourself, is it time for me to be cleaning up my debt? Is it time for me to take better responsibility in a more fair way for my end of financial transactions, and to look at, how you could get out of debt, how you could maybe pay down that loan faster, for example. So the sun's passage along the 8th house can bring a lot of high quality attention to all of those things, not to mention your sex life. Then the last thing is that the moon meets up with the sun very quickly after the sun enters Capricorn. And This is a new moon in curmudgeonly Capricorn. The moon is not very happy to be in Capricorn. This is the sign opposite the one that it rules. It rules Cancer. And in Capricorn, the moon can be rather crusty and emotionally restrained and stoical. This moon happens really close to the holidays, the winter holiday. So it doesn't matter what you do with your winter holiday. If you spend it with family, this could be a rather uncomfortable moon. And having this moon in a square with Jupiter, and we are calling this moon transactional family relationships, because Jupiter is pulling for a festive holiday while the sun and the moon are really more reserved. And so some of the advice that we're giving out about this is, yeah, sometimes, the holidays can seem transactional, and sometimes that's okay. You got to keep it, you got to keep the family together. And if that means giving to somebody in the way that they receive the best, even if that's not really what you're feeling, that might be the way to go, to sail through the holidays in a good way and really enjoy the festivities that come with them. You can find out a lot more about this month's moons and the astrological influences of 2023 on our website's forecast page at pandoraastrology.com. And thank you so much for watching this video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like it here on YouTube, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to our channel. And on our website, also, you can book a reading with us or take a class. We'd always love to see you. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.